Hi guys, it's Steph from Soul Sparks, and you're used to me talking about astrology when I come on here. But the thing is, one of the things I started this account for was to just demystify the sun sign and to help you all understand your own birth charts, but also to demystify tarot. And for that today, I am currently on the second stage of the soul journey in the major arcana. In our last video, we went through the tarot cards, starting with the Fool, which is 0, and we went all the way through into the Chariot, which is number 7. All of the next pieces are going to fall into that 1 to 7 category. In fact, you can see the similarities. So we ended the last part. If you haven't watched the first video, please go back and do that now. This is the second stage of the journey, okay? So in the second stage of the journey, we start with resilience. We have developed so much resilience. We're no longer walking forward with fear, right? Informing our way forward. And in fact, when we come against a challenge, we tame the challenge, right? That's strength. This is number 8, but it's technically number 1 of the second stage. After we do that, after we confront our fear, we go inside, okay? This is associated with Saturn, which is associated with Capricorn, which is kind of like the taskmaster, but it's all about, again, doing that internal work. If you remember the first stage of the journey, this was represented in the High Priestess. Now we're doing this again. We're sitting with ourselves and we're going inside to find the light. Inside, not external. We come out of that with a brand new perspective. What I like about this series is it shows the girl standing on top of the wheel. I really like that because you'll see when we get to the third lesson, so to speak, that it all comes together really nicely. They've done a great job in that deck. However, this is about perspective, right? It's about going inside, doing the work, understanding that the lows also mean that we appreciate the highs. It's about the flow. And then it's about balance. Okay, so it's about, again, it's sort of like integrating. It's understanding that any extreme is not the answer and that the balance lies within the middle. Okay, so this is perspective. You gained a new perspective from going inside. And this is about making sure that everything is not at extremes. And once you do that, once you make sure that everything is balanced, there's really nothing more for you to do except surrender. You know, you understand now that everything has a purpose, that everything comes together for a reason. You know, you've done the work, you've gone inside, and externally you began to balance priorities. And now, like, look at his smile. He's relaxed. He's surrendering. He's giving way to whatever comes, and he's ready for it. There's no fear. Key thing. So this card is a little bit controversial in the Rider deck, okay? I like what they did here because they said rebirth, and we need to remember death is rebirth, right? It's the end and beginning of a cycle all at once. What I like to draw anyone's attention to is this man here who's just standing there and welcoming it because he's understanding the light, right? The transformation. So that is what is happening to him who surrenders. He begins to transform. He begins to evolve. He begins to up level, right? This is the second stage of the soul journey. And then we end in a beautiful place of temperance. Okay, we have found the external balance. We have looked inside. We have completely transformed. And now we are just steadfast. You know, we're embracing the balance all around us and approaching life with patience, nurturing, kindness, you name it. Complete this lesson. I like this card again because what it's done is take some things from the earlier lesson about the High Priestess and bring it back, okay? So again, this is about like sitting within the power of that balance spiritually, like understanding that dark exists in order for light to exist, okay? So again, we started this journey with no fear, okay? We tame the tigers, the lions. You went inside and did the work. We gained a whole new perspective. Remember, she's standing on top, both inside and outside, externally. We surrendered willfully, which I think is important. We transformed into a closer version of ourselves within that soul journey that is more aligned, more aware, and more integrated. And now we're going to head into the third stage. Okay? Love you all. Have a